This is the SM4 by Shure. It's a large dual diaphragm, that's going to be important soon, cardioid condenser microphone, and you're hearing me on it now. And for reference and just an extreme example, you're hearing me from the built-in camera microphone, which is a few feet away from me. You're seeing this microphone as it comes in the full kit, which Shure sent to me to test out and do a review. They don't have any say in the making of this video, so you're seeing it first. In addition to the microphone in the kit, you get a shock mount, which is all metal construction like the microphone itself, and a plastic magnetic pop filter. So this is really cool. Just clips right on using magnets. At the time of this video, the kit is $299 in the US, and you can get the microphone, the SM4 by itself, for $199, and you can buy each of these parts separately if you decided later on you wanted them. I would say the kit is worth it. A pop filter is always handy, but this microphone, as I'll talk about, is really good at handling plosives, so this pop filter's probably not even necessary in most cases. Depends on how plosive your P's and B's are, but you can probably get away without the pop filter, and I'll demonstrate that. But the shock mount is certainly something I'd recommend for everyone, especially with a condenser microphone, which is more sensitive than a dynamic microphone. If you're going to remove this microphone at all while speaking, or even just having this attached to a mic stand, if you're making taps on the desk or even tapping on the floor, you'll want the shock mount to absorb that. The kit also comes with additional rubber bands in case any of them wear out or break on your shock mount. And it does not include an XLR cable, so you'll need to pick one of those up if you don't have one already. And of course, it is a condenser microphone, so it runs on phantom power. You have to have an audio interface, a mixer that provides phantom power. I don't know of any modern audio interfaces that do not. In addition, Shure sent out the SRH440A headphones, which I'm using to now monitor my audio, and is something you should always use to monitor your own audio so that you can catch problems as they're happening. Background noise that you wouldn't hear without headphones, clicks, pops, plosives, sibilance, all kinds of issues that you can miss while recording, and then you'd have to do it all over again. Also, I'd recommend wearing headphones if you're watching this review, because you'll be able to hear the intricacies of the microphone and the different features that I'm going to demonstrate. Speaking of monitoring the audio and catching something like interference, one of the features of the SM4 is Shure has developed their own RF shielding, which is a little mesh screen known as a Faraday cage to prevent some of the interference that you might get if you're in especially a studio like this, which is really just a home recording environment. So Wi-Fi, cell phone signals, any kind of RF interference. In this office, if you've seen past reviews, you've seen that I have some issues with RF in this space. I'm not picking up any of that on this microphone, so it seems to be working pretty well. I'm going to be quiet for a second here. This is a condenser microphone. I am in a space that is treated. I have sound panels, but it's not perfect. There's a fan in that light, and there's a general noise floor to this space. So a plane is going over right now. I can hear that in my headphones. And I am running this microphone into a Sound Devices Mix Pre 3, which generally provides a nice clean signal, but I can definitely hear the noise of that light and that light coming through this microphone. Now, in a minute, I will apply a slight amount of noise reduction just so the rest of this is very clean. You should notice that it doesn't even affect the tone of the microphone. Noise reduction has gotten that good. You can check out a couple different videos that I've done on the noise reduction plugins and tools that I use, but I'll go ahead and be quiet. This is the noise floor of this space currently. And the only thing I've done to the audio up to this point is to raise the level by about 7 or 8 dB so that it is at proper levels for you to hear it on YouTube. All right, and I'll apply some slight noise reduction. All right, now we have super clean audio, the same tone. Actually, the tone is going to change a little bit when I remove this pop filter. So let's talk about that. The pop filter is obviously here to prevent plosives, but this microphone, because it is a dual diaphragm microphone, is very good at preventing plosives. It seems to perform almost as good as an omnidirectional microphone, which is not susceptible to plosives based on the way the capsule picks up your voice. But when you have a cardioid polar pattern, you're more susceptible to those plosives, the P's and B's. Please bring the plosives. Please bring the plosives. Please bring the plosives. Please bring the plosives. Plosives. So those are extreme examples, and I got a little bit of plosive out of there when I was very close, but I removed the pop filter. I personally don't need it. I'm also at an angle here, so the P's and B's are going across the microphone instead of directly into it. And you've probably noticed a small change in the tone of the audio by removing the pop filter. To me, I'm getting more of the brightness of this microphone, and if you look at the frequency response of this microphone, you'll see that it does have a lot of high-end, very high-end presence or boost, and then the low end is rolled off a little bit. I put that back on. This should reduce brightness with something being in front of the capsule. So I take that back off, and you definitely are getting more of the brightness. It feels a little fuller to me as well, but that's just what I'm hearing in my ear. What do you think? And because it's a condenser microphone, you do have to be conscious of mouth noises. So people use condensers because they produce a wider frequency range. It picks up all the nuance of your voice, but it will pick up mouth noises even more. So have water nearby, make sure your mouth doesn't get too dry. Wear headphones. Again, wear headphones so that you can hear all these things and not have an entire production ruined by noises you didn't want when you put headphones on in the edit. So since I have the full kit, I will leave this on. And that brings me to another feature of this microphone. It is created with the content creator in mind, someone who is on camera, someone who's doing a podcast or a live stream, whatever you're producing where you're on camera and you want to use this microphone, you're going to use it close. So it's going to be in the shot. It's not going to block your face as much as another microphone that is not as low profile as this microphone is, and or you're using a pop filter that takes up much more space and covers your face, essentially. Something like this. If we bring that in, it is blocking much more of my face, which in theory is less camera friendly, unless that is the look you're going for. But I definitely prefer the low profile nature of this microphone and pop filter so that we can see more of the person in the video. As well as looking good, of course, it is a Shure microphone, so it is built like a tank, die-cast zinc all-metal construction with a very sturdy grill and a nice weight, a microphone that should stand the test of time. I mentioned the price of this microphone. The price is a feature of the microphone. This microphone fits right into the SM lineup, being the most affordable dual diaphragm condenser that you can get. The next one above it is probably going to be at least 2 times the price. And again, let's talk a little bit about the dual diaphragm. I mentioned that this helps reduce plosives, but this microphone is really designed to control the low end. A standard single diaphragm condenser microphone is going to be more susceptible to plosives, but also the proximity effect. So the closer you get to the microphone, the deeper, muddier, darker a microphone can get. But with the dual diaphragm technology, it gives you a broader sweet spot, which means you have more room to move around the microphone, get close to the microphone, be back from the microphone, and your tone, the sound of your voice, should remain consistent. And for those who want to go deep into it, I will link to a paper that Shure wrote all about dual diaphragm technology. So check out those resources linked in the description, as well as all the gear is linked down there. And if you're down there, hit the subscribe button at the same time. So this microphone truly is an example of buying a microphone based on your needs. If you want to lean into the microphone and get a much darker sound, then you may want something that is more susceptible to the proximity effect. However, this one is more true to life as opposed to being something that's hyper real, whereas it's hyping up the tone of your voice based on where you are. This one is giving you more of what you sound like. And then in post-production, you can go ahead and mess with the EQ if you want to drop some more of the low end, raise some of the high end, scoop the mids, or boost that low end. What I hear too much these days is people getting way too close to the microphone. It gets super muddy. And if you're listening in an environment that is loud and you have to turn that up, or you're listening in an environment that is also reverberant, that low end just starts to sound woofy and it just blends together. It gets muddy. It does not sound good. So I think a lot of people could benefit from having a microphone that does not over enhance the low end. As I mentioned, this is a cardioid microphone, so we talked about dynamics and cardioids with the dynamics rejecting more of the background noise, but because it is a cardioid, its polar pattern is still focused near the front, and this mic still does a good job at rejecting noise that is not right in front of it. But if we go around to the back, this is me talking about the same distance from the back of the microphone. This is the back of the microphone. And then we come back on axis to the front. And as a comparison in rejection of condenser versus dynamic, this is the rejection of the SM58. This is me talking about the same distance from the back of the microphone. You can hear when I am not in the polar pattern. This microphone is dramatically different in how it rejects audio based on its transducer type, which is dynamic, versus the SM4, which is a condenser, which still does a good job at rejection, but it's just much different than a dynamic. So the shock mount, when you handle the microphone, does a great job at absorbing all the noises of the microphone being moved. I know typically if I'm on a live stream, I may move or reset the microphone a little bit, and having a shock mount is invaluable for doing that. And if I go ahead and stomp on the floor and it's not picking it up to the microphone, even though the microphone is moving a little bit, as well as if I hit the mic stand, you would hear that a little bit, but not even half as much if the microphone was not in a shock mount. Now, the high-end boost of the frequency response of this microphone would concern me if I had sibilant voice, and my voice is not extremely sibilant. I work with a lot of people who do have hard S's, and the right microphone makes all the difference. So again, choosing a microphone based on the characteristics of your own voice and the sound you're looking for, but I don't find that those hard S's, they're not being picked up by this microphone in a way that would be offensive to your ear. When you have a microphone that's really bright and you hit those S's, I'm exaggerating it there, it will sound almost like a whistle when it's really bad. But just in my normal way of talking, my normal speech, with this microphone only being a couple inches away, I'm not getting plosives, I'm not getting overly muddy sound, and I'm not creating S's that I'm going to have to deal with in post-production or that are just so strong that you can't even completely remove them. De-essing is a hard process to deal with, and I find with someone who has really strong piercing S's that a microphone with a lot of bright high end is enhancing, you're only going to knock it down, not necessarily remove it. All right, and this is the SM27. Up to this point, it's been my favorite large condenser microphone that I own. That said, I don't have a lot of condenser microphones because I typically do podcast production in, again, a space that is not designed to be soundproof. And so a dynamic microphone is going to offer the best rejection of sound, but I do like to have a condenser on hand for specific voiceover applications. But this is a comparison of another large diaphragm condenser by Shure that you can hear against the SM4. Shure SM4 large dual diaphragm condenser, Shure SM27 large diaphragm condenser, Shure SM4 large dual diaphragm condenser, Shure SM27 flat frequency response. This has a slight roll-off option, which would match what the SM4 is like naturally. So let's hear that. All right, SM27 with some roll-off. This is the sound that I like from the SM27. Shure SM4 large dual diaphragm condenser. I like both microphones. They both sound great for condenser options. And the Shure SM4 without the pop filter. All right, and the Shure SM4 back to where I had it. And because I mentioned condensers versus dynamic microphones, I have, of course, the classic, everyone knows this microphone, the Shure SM58. Let's listen to the background noise and noise floor of the SM4. And then let's hear the SM58. And this is the SM58, which sounds dramatically different. A dynamic sounds incredibly different. This is a great sounding microphone, but it has a very boxed in type of sound compared to the open sound of a condenser microphone, and that's why I like to have a condenser microphone available. And so that is the SM4. Again, who would buy this microphone? If you have a lot of low end in your voice and you do not want to enhance that, this microphone does a great job at preventing buildup of that low end, which would mean less work in post-production for you, while also having a boost in the brighter end of the frequency response, which again is going to brighten up your voice. If you're using a condenser microphone and you want to work it really close, you want to get really close in here, it's also not going to enhance all the buildup of the proximity effect, which is when it gets darker, the closer you get. Obviously, as the closer I get, it gets louder. So as I back up, I'll raise my voice, but the tone is the same, but you're hearing more of the room. So even as you just back off a little bit, it changes the tone of the microphone a lot. So that's typically why you're going to be on the microphone as close as possible, especially in a home studio setup. And the closer you are means you have more of the signal, your voice, and less of the background. If I'm back here, I need to raise the signal and the noise floor to get my voice to the proper spot. So work that microphone close. This one allows you to do that, and you have the added pop protection because as you get closer, those P's and B's are going to become enhanced. This microphone is great at rejecting that. If you're looking for a high quality condenser at a great price point, this is a good microphone that you're going to buy once and not have to replace because it breaks. You're probably going to have to hand it off to someone else at some point. The look of the microphone, if you're on video and you want to use a condenser microphone, this one stays out of the way. You can work it pretty close without it completely blocking your face. The low profile design, along with the very minimal pop screen, which I really like the looks of, are a great addition to your production if you're on video. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments. I will respond as soon as possible, and I'll see you next time.